Have you ever felt out of place, like a fish out of water, only to be saved by an unexpected friendship? This is the story of how I met my best friend, Lily. A single encounter changed my life, and to this day, I feel incredibly grateful for that moment. It all started on the first day of high school. I was nervous, excited, and a little overwhelmed by the size of the school. I walked through the crowded hallways, clutching my schedule tightly, feeling lost among all the students who already knew each other. Everywhere I looked, students were laughing, chatting, and finding their old friends. I felt like an outsider, as I had just moved to town a few weeks before school started. My heart was racing, and I couldn't help but wonder, will I fit in? Will I make any friends here? I was so focused on finding my first class, room 305 for science, that I wasn't paying attention to where I was going. Suddenly, I turned a corner and bumped straight into someone, dropping my books and papers all over the floor. Embarrassed, I quickly bent down to pick them up. "Oh, I'm so sorry," I said, hoping I hadn't made a terrible first impression. The first encounter. When I looked up, I saw a girl with bright red hair and the friendliest smile I'd ever seen. She laughed and said, "No problem at all. Here, let me help you." She reached down, gathering my scattered papers and books, and handed them back to me. "I'm Lily," she said, still smiling. "Hi, I'm Sarah. Sorry again for bumping into you," I managed to say, feeling my cheeks turn a bit red. "Don't worry about it," she replied cheerfully. "Are you new here?" "Yes," I nodded, trying not to sound too nervous. "It's my first day, and I'm still figuring out where everything is." "Oh, cool. Welcome to the school," she said warmly. "High school can feel huge at first, but you'll get used to it. Do you know where your class is?" I looked at my schedule and replied, "I'm looking for room 305. Science class." Her eyes lit up with excitement. "Hey, that's my first class too. Come on, I'll show you the way." She motioned for me to walk with her, and we headed down the hall together. A lucky coincidence. As we walked, she asked me about my old school, what I thought of the new town, and what hobbies I had. At first, I was a bit shy, but Lily was so friendly that I couldn't help but open up. She was funny too, making little jokes that made me laugh and feel at ease. By the time we reached room 305, I felt like I had known her for years. When we entered the classroom, she pointed to an empty desk next to hers and said, "Sit next to me. It'll be nice to have someone to talk to during class." I felt so relieved, knowing I wouldn't have to sit alone. Little did I know, this would be the beginning of an incredible friendship. Getting to know each other. Over the next few weeks, Lily and I became close friends. We discovered that we had so much in common. We both loved reading, drawing, and, to my surprise, we shared a passion for baking. We would sit together during lunch and talk about everything. Our favorite books, art projects, and recipes we wanted to try. Lily was always full of ideas, and her enthusiasm was infectious. Being around her made me feel more confident and happy. One day, Lily invited me to her house. "You've got to come over and bake with me. We can make chocolate chip cookies," she said excitedly. "I'd love to," I replied, thrilled at the idea of spending more time with her outside of school. Baking adventures. When I arrived at Lily's house, her mom greeted me warmly, and I followed her to the kitchen, where Lily was already waiting. She had all the ingredients laid out: flour, sugar, butter, chocolate chips, and more. We put on aprons and started mixing everything together. Lily seemed like a natural in the kitchen, measuring each ingredient with ease, while I was a little clumsy and even managed to spill flour all over the counter. We laughed as we tried to clean up the mess, and I realized I hadn't laughed like that in a long time. While the cookies were baking in the oven, we talked about our dreams and future goals. Lily wanted to become a chef one day and open her own restaurant, while I dreamed of becoming an artist. We joked about combining our dreams. Maybe I could design her restaurant's menu and artwork. "Imagine, you could have a whole gallery of your paintings right in my restaurant," she said, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Deal," I laughed. "And I'll be your #1 customer." Facing challenges together. Not everything was easy, though. High school came with its own set of challenges. A few weeks later, we had a big test in our science class. I was struggling with some of the topics and felt anxious about the exam. I had always found science difficult, and I didn't want to fail my first test in a new school. Lily noticed that I was worried and offered to study with me after school. For the next week, we met at the library every day. Lily patiently helped me understand the topics I was struggling with. She explained things in simple terms, often using funny examples that made the concepts easier to remember. On the day of the test, I felt much more confident, all thanks to her help. After the test, I turned to her and said, "Thank you so much, Lily. I don't know what I would have done without you." She grinned and replied, "Hey, that's what friends are for. Besides, you did all the hard work." Learning English with a friend. As time went on, I noticed that Lily was very good at English. I, on the other hand, often struggled with vocabulary and pronunciation. One day, she suggested, "Why don't we practice English together? We can read stories, learn new words, and help each other out. It'll be fun." From then on, we made it a habit to meet after school to practice English. We picked short stories, read them aloud, and discussed new words and phrases. Lily was incredibly patient, explaining words I didn't understand and helping me pronounce them correctly. She encouraged me to write short stories and even kept a little notebook where we jot down new vocabulary. Learning English became enjoyable, and I noticed that I was improving bit by bit. Sometimes, she would give me fun challenges, like using a new word in a sentence during lunch or coming up with synonyms for common words. It was like a game, and I loved it. Learning with Lily made me realize that English could be fun, not just a subject in school. An unbreakable bond. As the school year went on, our friendship grew even stronger. We celebrated each other's birthdays, supported each other during tough exams, and shared countless laughs and memories. We'd go to the park on weekends, where we'd have little picnics, bringing homemade treats and discussing our latest favorite books. One weekend, we decided to have a movie marathon. Lily picked me up in the morning, and we spent the entire day watching old classics, laughing, crying, and eating too much popcorn. As we sat there, wrapped in blankets, I realized how grateful I was to have her as my friend. It felt like we'd known each other forever, even though it had only been a few months. One day I asked her, "Lily, did you know we'd be friends from the moment we met?" She laughed and said, "Honestly, yes. I knew you were someone special right from the start. Sometimes you just feel a connection with someone, you know." I smiled, feeling a warmth in my chest. "Yeah, I feel the same way." Facing hard times together. Not all days were happy though. One day, I received some difficult news. My grandfather, whom I was very close to, had fallen ill. I was devastated, and it was hard to focus on school or anything else. When Lily noticed that I was down, she didn't push me to talk about it. Instead, she just sat by my side, offering silent support. A few days later, when I was ready to talk, she listened patiently as I shared my worries. She even came over to my house, bringing my favorite snacks and a little note that said, "I'm here for you, no matter what." That simple act of kindness meant the world to me. In that moment, I realized that true friendship isn't just about sharing the good times. It's about being there for each other when things get tough. Planning the future together. As we moved into our second year of high school, we began to think more seriously about our future. Lily was still set on becoming a chef, and I had started taking art classes to improve my skills. We often talked about our dreams, and it was comforting to know that we both had goals we were passionate about. One afternoon, as we walked home together, Lily said, "Hey, promise me something. No matter where life takes us, we'll always keep in touch." I can't imagine my life without my best friend. I smiled and replied, "I promise. Best friends forever, no matter what." We sealed our promise with a pinky swear, laughing at how childish it seemed, but knowing it was meaningful. Conclusion. Looking back, I realized that meeting Lily was one of the best things that ever happened to me. She was there when I was new, nervous, and unsure of myself. She helped me find confidence, taught me the joy of learning, and became a part of my family. Through our friendship, I discovered what it truly means to be there for someone, to support and encourage them, and to face life's challenges together. Friendships like these don't come around often, but when they do, they change your life forever. So, if you're ever feeling alone or unsure of yourself, remember that a friend could be just around the corner. Sometimes, all it takes is a simple hello and a warm smile.